In 2012, the Engage program launched the Sims and Games Award that had a bunch of us building educational video games right here at UW-Madison. Anybody that was on one of those teams realized that the process of actually designing and building an educational game was in fact very educational itself. We wanted to keep leveraging that kind of thinking, that the designer is the one that learns, and start doing some new things with mobile video games ourselves.
It says which question.
In our first iteration, we were able to work with our own Erica Halverson, who's in the Curriculum and Instruction Department here at UW-Madison. And she's currently funded through NSF to research how people learn in makerspaces. This semester now, we're working with Jon McKenzie and the English department. And the English department already has a heritage of understanding how composition can be part of the learning process.
What are keys to collaborative success?
My class this semester is English 177. The title of it is Stories, Maps, and Media, Designing Wisconsin Experiences, and we had 105 students. And the goal of the class was to teach students media design skills and teach them how to tell stories and use visuals across different media
Not
forms.
only the environment, but also Earth. This was like a totally uncomfortable feeling at the very beginning, but it also has a lot to do with storytelling and narrative, which is really related. So in that sense, it felt really comfortable. So now that I know sort of more how ERIS works and what the process of teaching it is, I feel like, oh, like I could do that again. Like, and I might not need much help.
The objective of our game is to educate students.
So we decided to use ERIS because the class's focus on stories and maps went really well with the augmented reality interactive storytelling, which maps out stories onto maps, and so it's sort of a perfect fit. And we wanted students to have the experience of creating interactive documentaries, situated documentaries.
I did see in some of the journals a little bit of...
So we use CAT, which is CAT, over and over again in this class to help them think about the conceptual, the main ideas, what they want to get across, the goals, the aesthetics, sort of look and feel, right, depending font, colors, sounds. And then technical, so how it moves into the software, how it works. Usually you don't see the technical, it's sort of invisible, unless of course there's a problem. Right, Lobo's gonna go and all the different places. So the first step was basically choosing teams within this section of 18 students and choosing a topic. The second step was researching the topic, going to the Historical Society, going to the online archives. Step 3 was storyboarding, so actually putting characters and items into some kind of a sequence on a big sheet of paper by gluing things and making sketches, etc. And then the 4th step was actually implementing. That took a couple of weeks.
The name of our game is Mission Impossible: Salvation of the Mounds.
So I think one of the really interesting things that ERIS does for students when they're constructing a game and thinking about what kind of narrative they want to tell in the game by choosing specific characters, choosing specific informational pieces to put into the game and how to sequence them, it allows them to really reflect on the sort of history that they're telling, and at the same time, they're thinking critically about like, wow, you know, this is the way that the end user is going to experience history, and I'm creating it. So I want to be really, hopefully, I want to be really careful and, you know, pointed about how I do that. So it allows them really to reflect on the historical process, not just sort of read a book and, okay, great, that's the history, but think about history as a dynamic process that they are involved in some important way.
You just lead right into education and have education be like a mandatory one because you're interested.
The approach that we used to facilitate the semester really worked. The first change that we made is that we minimized the amount of upfront technical training that took place and instead relied on kind of just-in-time training as the students had questions. And that really helped minimize the amount of time that they spent struggling with technology later on. We also had the students produce a throwaway design up front that only took a week or so to do. And this really helped them understand the tool before they got into their main design.
Most students are excited to be working in digital media. Some people find it challenging because they've never really worked there before, but part of the reason is to get people not just consuming digital media, but also producing it.
This project was a real success. The quality of the design documentation as well as the final ERIS projects was the highest we've ever seen. And we also were really happy to see that we were able to get the students focusing on their design decisions and their topic research instead of technology. We're excited to say that these pilots and the methods that came out of them, combined with the tools that we produce, are able to be freely distributed so that we will see hundreds, if not thousands, of educators using this approach in their classrooms all around the world.